What's up, Ravens fans? It's officially the offseason, and that means there's plenty to talk about. We got a ton of questions from you guys this week. Like, are the Ravens going to re-sign Justin Tucker? Is wide receiver Chris Matthews going to be back on this team and in the mix next season? And are the Ravens going to bring in another wide receiver to this room? All of that and more on today's Mailbag.
Our first question comes from @BelieveXI. And they ask, is this offseason going to be similar to the one after our last Super Bowl win where we clean house again? Well, no. As strange as it seems, I think that the Ravens won't make many big sweeping changes after a 5-11 season as opposed to when they did make a lot of changes after winning the Super Bowl. I think that this team is a young team, so there's not really a lot of changes that you can make in terms of veterans like on that Super Bowl team.
That was the case in that Super Bowl team. I mean, that was a lot of guys. You had Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Matt Burke, guys that were at the tail end of their careers.
Exactly. So that led to a lot of those changes. This team is young. You want to let these players get some more time under the belt. And also, I think that there are signs that this team really isn't that far away from competing for another playoff spot and even for the Lombardi Trophy next year. I mean, you look at it, they played 14 out of their 16 games were one-score games. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's an NFL record. And obviously, you look at all the injuries. 20 guys on IR, that's a Ravens record. So if you can get better results in those two areas, injuries, and if you can win a few more of those close games, then I think this team's right back in the mix.
All right, the next question comes from Showtime98, and the question is, are we going to re-sign Justin Tucker? Well, this is one of the big questions of the offseason, certainly. And he asked, are we going to re-sign Justin? That, to me, is really up in the air. I don't know if they're going to work out a long-term extension with Justin because the franchise tag is in the Ravens' back pocket. They have that as an option, and when you look at the franchise tag for kickers, it doesn't even compare to what you would pay for quarterbacks or left tackles, those huge franchise tag numbers. It's relatively affordable for kickers. So both sides in a perfect world would like to work out an extension where Justin's happy and the Ravens are happy. Now, obviously, that comes down to the dollars and cents, and we'll see if they're able to do that. But if they don't, I'm sure the Ravens will use the franchise tag, and Justin will be on this team next year, which I'm sure everyone's excited about to hear here in Baltimore.
Last year, the Patriots used the franchise tag on Steven Gostkowski and then gave him the long-term extension after that when a kicker says, you know what, I want multi-year deal here.
Yep.
Our next question comes from Jose Hernandez, who we all remember Jose was Make-A-Wish on the sidelines and in the pregame locker room for the Browns win.
He was responsible for the kick six, I think,
I think so. He didn't block it, but he was definitely a good luck charm.
Jose's are a good luck charm.
So thank you very much, Jose. And he asks, how confident are the Ravens in Will Davis coming into next year? Well, I think there is confidence that you can be with a cornerback coming off an ACL injury. But what gives you some optimism is that his injury came in week 5. So it's relatively early in the season. That tells me he should be back on the field probably by the start week 1, I would think. That's generally the recovery time for an ACL. And I think it's an important guy to bring up. I mean, Will Davis played really well against the Steelers in week 4. He locked down Antonio Brown. As much as he can lock down Antonio Brown, he did it. And when you're thinking about, well, the Ravens need to add a cornerback, don't forget about Will Davis. The Ravens traded a draft pick to get this guy. That tells you what they think of him.
I think it's a good question from Jose and a good point by you. All right, the next question comes from Max, and the question is, do you think there's a chance the Ravens go ahead and sign another veteran receiver for reasonable value? Maybe Anquan Bolden? We're bringing up Anquan's name again.
Wow, here we go. Is that this question or that's you?
That was in the question.
That wasn't
my suggestion. I think this could certainly happen. I mean, just look at the history of this team, and the Ravens have done this a lot. They did it with Anquan. They did it with Steve Smith, and there's a number of other guys, Lee Evans, Derek Mason, TJ Houshmandzadeh, a number of guys who have been veteran players, maybe at the tail end of their careers or in the middle of their careers, that you can get for a bit of a bargain.
Maybe they'll get their third contract.
Right, they're maybe getting a third contract, and they're not going to go for the huge numbers. I don't think the Ravens are going to go and sign Alshon Jeffrey. I'm sure we're going to be talking about him a million times between now and March. I don't think that's the kind of guy the Ravens try to go and get in free agency. It's somebody for a better value, and certainly I think that could happen again this year.
Yeah, I'd agree. Our last question comes from @MatthewTreadWa2, and he asks, will Chris Matthews be brought back? Yes, I do think the Ravens will offer Chris Matthews a contract that will at least enable him to compete in training camp and throughout the summer this year. I think that he showed the Ravens enough to put his name in the mix alongside Darren Waller and Marlon Brown, two other big-bodied targets. Marlon Brown has tailed off the last 2 seasons after a huge rookie campaign, and Darren Waller is a rookie with some promise, but he also ended the season IR, so you're not sure what you're going to get out of him next year. Chris Matthews showed that he's more than just a Super Bowl one-hit wonder. and I think that will earn him another look this summer.
It's the offseason, and we're talking about wide receivers.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
I can't believe it. I'm sure we're going to have this conversation throughout the next several months. So it's the offseason. There's a lot that you guys want to know. Send in those questions each and every week for Mailbag. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.